Oh, for God's sake, Niall! Ah!
Apparently I do not seem to be able to move on from One Direction, so here we go again. As I already made clear in my last video, the last year, I unexpectedly became an unlikely fan of One Direction. One Direction, if you never paid attention to them, is a British-Irish boy band that was formed in 2010 within the X Factor show. They instantly became beloved worldwide and became one of the most successful boy bands to ever exist. Even during the early stages of my newfound obsession, I could not help but stumble over the words Larry Stylinson. Larry Stylinson is the ship name for the band members Louis Tomlinson and Harry Styles. The closeness and affectionate behavior of Louis Tomlinson and Harry Styles, the interactions between their families, and interesting Twitter posts made people genuinely think that Louis and Harry are in love, but are in a closeted relationship. Being in the closet, according to good old Wikipedia, is a metaphor for LGBTQ people who have not disclosed their sexual orientation or gender identity, while maybe even trying to convince other people that they are not queer. Closeting someone refers to the actions of others like family members, employers, etc. that forbid members of the LGBTQ+ community to speak publicly about their sexuality, and that try to prevent them from living out their sexuality in the open. As the desirability of musicians and members of boy bands majorly contributes to their success and marketability, closeting is quite common in the music industry. Contracts are signed that forbid musicians to come out as gay, or they are strongly advised against it for the sake of their career. It is also a known fact that in this context, beards are used. People of the opposite gender that pose as a significant other in order to give the celebrity a straight image. For example, in regards to the ship of Larry Stylinson, Louis Tomlinson and Harry Styles' girlfriends are seen as part of an elaborate scheme to hide the sexuality of the two. A quick disclaimer in my opinion on the topic. Before I talk about my theories and research as to why people are so obsessed with the ship, I want to clarify some things and talk about my opinion regarding the topic. I know that this is a sensitive subject for many, that's why I was worried to do this video in the first place, but I try to be as respectful and careful as possible, and outline that I do not judge anyone here, and I don't want to tell people that they're wrong when I myself don't know the truth. I'm pretty much an agnostic in all areas of life. I actually very much know that I know nothing, and therefore always see different possibilities in regards to almost every topic. Similarly, I deal with the topic of Larry Stylinson. I think that we simply don't know enough. Could there have been something in the early stages? Is there still something going on? Are Louis and Harry's team Larry baiting for profit nowadays? Or are there no so-called proofs at all, and everything is just overanalyzed by fans?
Is Olivia even a person? Is Olivia an emotion? Is she a place? We don't know.
To overemphasize this, we simply don't know enough about their private lives to claim anything as the truth. When it comes to them still being together, or if they ever were together, I personally would lean towards no, as Louis and Harry, however awkwardly, denied the rumors several times, and I choose to believe them. However, with the media pretend game, you never know. I actually understand them tiptoeing around the topic and being uncomfortable with denying the rumors, even if they are untrue. Similar to risking losing fans by confirming Larry Stylinson and their sexualities, they might alienate a large portion of the fan base if they confirm that Larry Stylinson is not true and never happened. My main theory is that the boys went through puberty together, only had each other to lean on for quite a while, and therefore were particularly touchy with each other. This level of touchiness in a group is also kind of what I experience whenever I'm doing solo travel, and there were actually several studies done that people bond faster and are more attached to the hips when in unfamiliar surroundings together. Unfortunately, I also think that they were drunk a lot on stage and on interviews, and I don't know about you, but I'm also very handsy with my friends when I'm drunk. Similarly, as I choose to be an agnostic regarding Larry Stylinson itself, I'm also an agnostic when it comes to the Larrys. Similarly, as not all of them believe the same thing, I also think they have different motives and values behind their beliefs and actions. Maybe even none of my statements are true for any of them. I also don't think that Larrys are delusional, as sometimes lyrics of Harry's and Louis' songs or other coincidences, mainly each other's voices in videos and such, are interesting. However, number one, they even have to hide their friendship at this point, so them meeting in secret might not be proof of a secret relationship, but a secret friendship. Number two, I'm still not excluding the Larry baiting possibility, the possibility that Louis and Harry are dropping hints of their relationship to keep fans believing in Larry engaged. Number three, there is a possibility that the Larrys were right all along. Or number four, All of this was just a very unfortunate set of events and coincidences, and very poorly handled. To summarize, you can pretty much consider me a neutral on the topic. However, I also like to talk with the pronoun we a lot, as I myself don't want anyone to feel alienated, even though some things are not my opinion, so please also take my we's not too seriously. But frankly, and it's important for me to make this point, I think that their sexuality and their private life is none of my business. But I have to admit that even I enjoyed one or the other Larry video, particularly in the early stages of my One Direction obsession, as I find them quite cute. Also, in fiction, I'm quite a fan of LGBTQ+ storylines, so overall, I get the appeal, even though I don't want to ship real-life people. So, this is not a video speculating on their sexualities. As I, for some godforsaken reason, started to become genuinely interested in everything 1D, I also wanted to read about the different opinions regarding the topic of Larry Stylinson. Why do people try to actively stop themselves from moving on? Why do people need to hold on to the ship so bad? I found the phenomenon that this speculation has been going on for 10+ years quite fascinating. And although Larry Stylinson is probably the most persistent, this kind of speculation about same-sex relationships between celebrities has not only affected them, but countless others. So even if it is possible that whatever ship you believe in is true, it is highly unlikely that all of them are true. So please, for your own peace of mind, apply this video to the ship you're not convinced of, and don't see this video as an attack. However, I will try to deep dive into the question, why the need for same-sex relationships between celebrities, on the example of Larry Stylinson, as this is just one of the strongest examples of them all. Number 1. Our inner loneliness and the need for romance. As discussed in an article in Psychology Today, shipping reveals a lot about our society and about just how lonely and unloved people often feel. It is this loneliness that fuels the need to experience romance and love, at least vicariously. And what better way is there to do so than shipping? By nature, we crave love and connection. It is one of our most basic needs, and like with all our basic needs, we often don't get as much of it as we feel we need. The media we consume tries to capitalize on that need for love by selling us love stories in books and movies, and providing us with the cheesiest romantic songs. Unfortunately, this raises our expectations about what love should look and feel like, to a point that we are often no longer satisfied with the real-life experience. Even from an early age, we are influenced by fairy tales and are raised to crave this type of all-consuming, life-changing, life-fulfilling and everlasting love. As this type of love that is presented to us all our lives through the media sneaks its way into our core beliefs, even the ones of us that are in a relationship can feel love-deprived in some way. As already mentioned in my previous video, we, or at least I do, live vicariously through One Direction by getting a second-hand experience of their friendship. Similarly, seeing the members flirting with each other, or at least our perception of it, is the closest we get to experience their flirting firsthand, and imagining ourselves on the receiving end. A compilation of the ship's most touchy moments, their glances at each other, all underlined by romantic music, provides us with a sensory overload and gives us the euphoria as if we were the recipients of the love. The compilation of moments also makes it seem like the shipped couple behave like this all the time, and this makes us think of the ship as the most romantic, most perfect love to ever exist. It is no surprise that the Larry Stylinson ship or any other ship is often commented with the remark, "I want what they have," and by observing their interactions we get a little piece of it. However, it is important to note that if we were to make a similar compilation of our romantic moments in our relationships, it would possibly look quite similar. With Eleanor Calder, Louis Tomlinson's now ex-girlfriend, and girlfriends of the other band members, we mostly only get pictures. We don't get to see their interactions in such detail. At least not regularly, are not able to make such cute compilations, we don't get to feel their love. And therefore, they are not so easy to ship. Number 2. Jealousy and dealing with a celebrity crush. Celebrity crushes are completely normal, nothing to be ashamed of, and the One Direction boys are pretty easy to crush on. Trust me, as a person with my now first ever and therefore slightly surprising, but still well-balanced celebrity crush on Louis Tomlinson, I understand completely. We saw them grow up and somehow really got to know or feel like we know their personalities and tics. We even share inside jokes with them and they made us laugh a lot. A study led by evolutionary psychologist, and I hope I pronounced that right, Jaroslava Varela-Valentova, revealed that no matter the own sexual orientation, people are generally more jealous of same-sex rivals, as we also grew up comparing ourselves to the people of the same gender, who we have more in common with, and who therefore offer a better outlet for comparison. So in case we have a celebrity crush on either Louis or Harry, the idea of either of them being with a man is less threatening, as we are not thinking, this could be me instead. Also, if they are in fact gay and only interested in men, we have a legitimate reason why they would not be into us. We can give up our illusion of ever being with them, because with them being gay, the last chance of them showing interest in us is vanquished. I actually think it is a healthier coping mechanism than stalking and being desperately in love. Not healthy though. For example, in the case of Harry and Louis, is using the other part of the ship as a way to project our own feelings. Projection is a defense mechanism people subconsciously employ in order to cope with difficult feelings or emotions. Psychological projection involves projecting undesirable feelings or emotions onto someone else, in this case the other participant of the ship, rather than admitting to or dealing with the unwanted feelings. I feel like even though we say we are angry, as giving the guys another beard just puts them deeper in the closet and we care, we mostly attack one of their female partners in the name of the ship just to deal with our own jealousy in some way. Number 3. Romantic and sexual self-exploration. The in regards to Larry Stylinson often expressed wish to have what they have is the reason for why a ship becomes your favorite in the first place. We support a ship that represents best what we deem desirable, romantic and erotic. There's a reason why our favorite ship is often a pairing of our favorites in the TV show, book, etc. As our favorite ship represents something we ourselves desire, it gives us the safe space to explore our identity by figuring out what we actually want and do not want in a relationship, without having to go through some heartbreaking processes ourselves, or having to experience the shame we might feel with living out our fantasies and preferences in the real world. Shipping as an expression of our own sexuality and romantic ideology is represented in a lot of comments saying something like, find yourself a man that looks at you the way Harry looks at Louis, for example. The psychologist Dr. Lindsay Bernis commented regarding ships, it's all about identity exploration. We're all going around looking for depictions of our own romantic, sexual and emotional fantasy. Shipping is a self-narrative therapy. The cultural studies scholars Claire Sutherton and Hannah McCann say in regards to the Larry Stylinson ship, far from simply lusting after their boyband idols, Larry's desire itself. In this context, Larrys are often accused of the fetishization of gay men. And there might be some truth to it. I mean, for similar reasons as men enjoy lesbian porn, it makes sense why you would enjoy to see some erotic moments between two people that you yourself find attractive. Still, it is never quite right to sexualize two real people, but unfortunately it is happening in the entertainment industry all the time and can never quite be prevented. However, it is important to note that celebrities are sexualized in general, and not only by Larrys and not all Larrys for that matter. Number 4. Representation and feeling validated. The soft masculinity of One Direction, their visible affection towards each other, and therefore their shippability amongst each other, attracted a lot of fans from the LGBTQ+ community. And as One Direction showed their support of the LGBTQ+ fandom in multiple ways, their connection to the queer community was even further solidified. As ships allow us to explore our sexuality, they also allow us to explore the fluidity and queerness of our sexuality. The ships turn into a representation of how the queer fans themselves love. For straight fans, it allows them the fantasy space to experiment with queerness. But further than that, especially for marginalized groups, it is important to be able to see themselves represented in the celebrity club, TV shows and media, to feel validated and to know that they are not alone. If representation is lacking in any of those media branches, shipping creates a space for representation. In regards to the Larry Stylinson ship, the academics Claire Sutherton and Hannah McCann say that regardless of the realness of the ship, the queer shipping of Louis and Harry is more about the creation of a space for the queerness of Larry to be real. So in a way, it's more about the possibility of two queer boybanders to exist. Queering not yet tackled media also tests the boundaries of representation and can lead to further acceptance and broader representation in the future. For example, having two gay members in a boy band openly date each other has never happened before, and it would have been pretty revolutionary. Antis, as the people that do not believe in a relationship of Louis Tomlinson and Harry Styles are called, are accused by the Larrys to be aggressively heteronormative at best, as being straight is the default status they assume, or as homophobic at worst. However, I think that most of them, like me, just don't want to label them or decide to believe them with whatever they put out there. Number 5. The rationalization of the unideal versions of Louis and Harry. The soft masculinity of the boys not only attracted queer fans, but also a lot of straight women who felt let down by straight men in their lives and who felt safe when idolizing guys that portrayed antitypical straight male behavior. Whether it was simply growing up, own caution, management, control, or whatever else, Louis Tomlinson changed, and throughout the years became a less flamboyant, less touchy version of himself. Sharon Olivo, a film and media studies graduate, pointed out that people who, for example, put Louis Tomlinson on a pedestal and fell in love with his softer version, might rationalize his new, more masculine version that they now don't like as much by believing that he was forced into the role by the evil management. In case of Harry Styles, no one wants to believe that the man might be queerbaiting, while at the same time having a messy dating history with women, and therefore want to believe his queerness to maintain the pure image of him in their heads. The narrative of a controlling management also serves to defend any other unideal behavior Harry Styles and Louis Tomlinson display. Number 6. The romance genre as a distraction and an outlet to test our creativity. The romance genre is immensely popular for several reasons. It adheres to our never-ending need for love and connection, as witnessing the love provides us with the serotonin, the excitement and fulfilling feeling we would have if we were to experience the love story firsthand. It gives us a nice romantic fantasy that distracts us from our own lives. Shipping and fanfiction additionally allow us to escape reality even further, by allowing us to test our creativity and be part of the creation of the narrative. In the case of Larry Stylinson, there exist multiple videos that speculate on the underlying love story of so-called Larry Stylinson moments, and that give us elaborate details on their so-called timeline. A whole and admittedly beautifully crafted storyline is created, where Louis and Harry fall in love with the X Factor. It starts with them already crossing paths without interaction at an earlier event, and they're possibly clumsy but adorable meet-cute in the bathroom of the X Factor set. From the beginning, their love is seen as fated, as they fall heavily in love at the X Factor, where they so happen to be thrust in a group with 3 other guys they barely even know. The antagonist is the evil management that prevents them from coming out as gay, and the star-crossed lovers overcome all odds and stick together during all the trials and tribulations, as they have to hide their love. It makes for a beautiful story of fated but star-crossed lovers, and Larry's recognize their active participation in the narrative, with comments like, "If Larry isn't real, then we created the most beautiful love story in the world." Maggie Owens writes in her article, The Sweet Science of Shipping, "Shippers interpret every detail as proof that characters are about to get hot and heavy." Does that sound familiar? Similar to the fictional ships Owen writes about, Larry's nitpick every interaction between the boys or between them and the management to prove the validity of their belief. Everything in their interpretation has to fit the narrative, and even events that would actually disprove the narrative are interpreted in a way that they only further prove their perception. For example, if one of them has a baby, you know who I'm talking about, this is just another stunt to hide the queerness of Louis Tomlinson. So what is all the fuss about? Why go to such lengths to keep the belief alive? Number 7. Need to defend the ship and our hope for real love. As our favorite ship reveals a lot about ourselves and our inner desires, they are deeply personal, and we almost feel personally attacked when others undermine our feelings and perceptions regarding it, or when they diminish our ship for the sake of another. We feel the need to validate our own interpretations by knowing that others feel the same way. This is especially true for real-life ships, as with them comes the hope that this kind of love is not only fictional, but also possible in real life, in our own lives. Comments like, "I only need to know that they were real at some point," just prove that this whole thing is less about Harry and Louis and their future, and more about our own needs to be able to believe in this kind of love. If Larry Stylinson were not real, this would mean that the hope of love like this to exist in reality slips away from us. We need others to confirm our ship, because the more people believe in it, the more real it feels. The amount of people believing in the ship becomes a proof in itself. Number 8. Simple pride at this point. A quick reminder, I am listing all kinds of possibilities here, and this does not need to be true for any Larry at all. The pride factor is pretty specific for real-life ships like Larry Stylinson that have been going on for a really long time. At this point, and this does not need to be about Larry, but also any other ship, some people don't want to admit that they have been wasting their time. They have been told time and time again by the aunties of their ship that their energy was wasted on believing, and they need to prove to the aunties and to themselves that they were right all along. Because if not, their whole reality would be shattered. The more people jump ship, the more the shippers feel like they are losing. If they find a proof, they can shove it in the non-believers' throats and prove them wrong. Number 9. The fun of drama and iPhone conspiracies, anticipation of the coming out, and the comfort underneath it all. As Lara Jean said in To All the Boys I've Loved Before, drama can be fun. In regards to Larry Stylinson, it's probably pretty fun to analyze every interaction and every song of that time in One Direction, similarly as I have fun making this video and am fascinated by the topic. The songs and interviews become that much more meaningful and feel like part of a larger storyline. With the anonymity of the internet, more people can engage in the overanalyzation that would probably not do so in real life, as they would be afraid of being perceived as crazy. The media presence of One Direction and the amount of footage available make One Direction as well as the Larry Stylinson ship that much more easy and fun to analyze. With the combination of those two factors, more analyzers and more to analyze, we have an endless change of so-called proofs that by the sheer mass seem undeniable. Despite the drama and excitement of conspiracies, conspiracies also provide comfort. As Joseph Russo, who teaches a class of anthropology of conspiracy theories in Wesleyan University, pointed out, in a moment in which young people feel they're living in a really chaotic world where not much makes sense, certain conspiracy theories can feel like a security blanket because they tell us there's actually an order underneath it all. The anticipation of a coming out day combines the excitement and hope with the comfort of believing in a day where justice is finally being served. As Caitlin Tiffany pointed out in her book Everything I Need I Get From You, How Fangirls Created the Internet as We Know It, the Twitterer, Tweetee, at Rogue Eskimo tweets daily, Louis and Harry are one day closer to being free. Proofs are collected that foreshadow a coming out day, a day that we in our own insignificant lives can look forward to. Number 10. Own values, the need for justice, and deep care for Louis and Harry. I already know that this is where most Larrys, at least on the forefront, place themselves. The fans watched One Direction grow up in front of their eyes, and as we get to see a lot of them through different media outlets, we almost feel like we know the boys. This is why many One Direction fans have a deep care for the boys to the point that they are overprotective of them, and even baby them in a way. Maybe that is because we saw them from a time where they still looked like babies, at least I think so. With our care for the boys, we want them to be happy. And when we already believe in a closeted relationship, we want the boys to be able to express their love freely. As we feel that we need to advocate for those helpless men on their behalf, in the case of Larry Stylinson, fans fight a war of the values. Larrys are often accused of having a savior complex or as disgusting, mentally ill and inappropriate, that invade celebrities' privacy, while people that are against shipping real-life people or don't believe in the ship are accused of homophobia and of being part of the problem that put them deeper in the closet. In general, there is a deep mistrust of the media and traditional institutions that we feel get away with whatever they want and that are only self-interested and in it for the profit. We constantly get it shoved in our faces that they are in control and that we have zero chance of winning against the big guys above. When you already believe Louis Tomlinson and Harry Styles, two gay men that you deeply care for, or any other closeted celebrity couple, are closeted by their evil management, you want to fight for justice, and you want them to win, as with them, your own values of open-mindedness, tolerance and freedom defy the big institutions that constantly try to undermine you and your values. Louis and Harry, that seem like the everyday boys next door, serve as a proxy of us, that feel suppressed by the system in some way. So, we made it to my conclusion. As I already said in the beginning of this video, the possibilities of why people want a same-sex, real-life ship to be true in the celebrity world can be endless. Same as the possibilities on the underlying truth can be endless. It is clear that shipping is actually quite healthy and natural, however it becomes toxic when it interferes with the real lives of the unwilling participants of a real-life ship, no matter what the underlying truth actually is. Shipping, also of real-life people, has always happened, and the general consensus is that it is acceptable as long as there is no break in the fourth wall. With Larry Stylinson, the problem started once they and their social circle were contacted directly by fans and asked about it in interviews. In the case of Larry Stylinson, if it is indeed true that they are closeted, this is after all still their choice. Even if you argue that they risk their careers, they still choose to put their careers above the freedom of living their love freely. Nobody put a gun to their heads. So everything, the beards and whatnot, would be their choice as well. So hating on the girls actually makes no sense. If they would choose to come out, they would do it on their own time and probably after they don't have or want much of a career anymore. If it was at some point true but ended, who wants to confirm an old relationship and have everyone discuss about it, especially if it was just a one-time teenage or early adult exploration of their sexuality? This might lead to further speculation in the future, and they might, however unnecessary, even be ashamed of their quick escapade. Even if they could be queerbaiting and drop hints of a Larry Stylinson relationship to keep their Larrys hooked, I cannot even blame them. When it is not true, then they had to deal with this nonsense for 10 plus years. Why not reap the benefits of it? It's not like it's going to stop anyway. Another possibility is that they could both be queer, but be with completely different partners by now. Who knows? But even if I still refer to Louis and Harry as boys, and we all do as we think about their time in the band, they are grown men by now and can take care of themselves. One Direction were the first real internet boy band. This is a blessing, as this was a major factor in their success, but it is also a curse, as the ship and the videos of the guys interacting is kept alive for eternity, and a new generation of Larrys is created. That's why I think the channels that start to normalize Larry as a friendship are doing the Lord's work in breaking this never-ending cycle of more and more people falling for Larry Stylinson, and so thanks guys. However, and that's why I don't want to convince anyone here, and also don't judge, at this point, everyone that is already believing something will continue believing what they want to believe, and no one will convince them otherwise. And everyone believes something different. Whether someone calls themselves a believer, an anti, a neutral, you can never fully know what the person actually believes. So please, when dealing with somebody from the opposite side, keep this in mind and don't jump to conclusions.